Welcome, guys. So before we, get into your respective views and analysis of the game, I would like to start with the biggest talking point of the match, obviously, which is Anthony Martial's red card. I'll start with Sushant first, and then pose the same question to you, Karthik. Sushant, do you think Martial's red card was fair, or was it too harsh? Question number one. And if it was the right call, do you think Eric Lamela should have seen a red too for raising his elbow?
So, yes, the Marshall red card was fair, uh, while the theatrics after that were uh, pretty abysmal. But what he did deserve the red card as per the letter of the law, and that was correct. For the second point, yes, I believe Lamela should also have seen a red, or alternatively, as many have said, both of them deserve the same punishment. So, be it a yellow or a red, they should have both received the same punishment. The only difference between the two was that Lamela fell down like he'd been hit by a rock, and Marshall just stood there. So I think if Marshall was more smart enough, while uh, if you read into Ole's comments after the match, while Ole wouldn't have been happy if Marshall had just fallen down at that point and uh, cried wolf, he probably would have won that as well. So yeah.
Right. That's a valid point. Karthik, what are your thoughts on that, mate? What do you think of Anthony Taylor and Vieira's decision? VAR.
I'm actually surprised why Marshall didn't go and fall onto the ground because he's got teammates who are the masters of it, right? So I was surprised that he didn't go down.
Right.
Um, I'm really surprised at the comments of majority of the United fans. They are slating Lamela for doing this, but they have to understand that they are at the receiving end of this for the first time. This is how the other fans feel. But yeah. Coming to the point, I think Martial's actions did warrant a red card, and so did Lamela. I will be totally honest. I think Lamela got away with one. Um, but I think it's fair and square. I think Luke Shaw also probably got away with one, right? You can argue that both of
Exactly.
them are supposed to be red cards. But yes, I do agree that that probably changed the course of the game. But not taking away with what Tottenham were doing even before the red card. I think you know I wouldn't say it completely changed the course of the game, but yes, it did have some effect.
Right. And you bring a very good point in Luke Shaw's challenge, right? He absolutely did not intend to get the ball. In fact, the ball was probably half a mile away when he made that challenge to Lucas Moura. Sushant, do you think that was a red card worthy offense, or did Luke Shaw get away with one there?
I don't believe that was a red card. There were enough people tracking back, so I don't think he was the last man there. And it was a professional foul, which deserved the yellow card. And I think that's what he got because it wasn't a dangerous tackle. It was just a tackle
Hmm.
from behind to stop the attack, which a lot of teams do. Which is not that it's right, but Man City does that a lot to stop counter attack. So I think if we start giving red cards for that, then you'd be seeing a lot of red cards for every tackle that happens.
Right, right. So now that we've discussed about the decision itself, let's get our thoughts on the game. So, Sushant, what were your thoughts on the game? How did Man United perform? Do you think the result would have been any different had Martial not been sent off, or had as you said, both got equally punished, maybe both sent off or both red cards? Do you think the result would have been any different than I'm not talking about the score line. Of course, it would have been. Chances are it would have been different, but the result in itself.
So, Manan, in these cases, I prefer not to idly think of what would have happened if X or Y did happen or did not happen, because at the end of the day, that didn't happen, and you play with what you have. And in terms of uh, the result itself was deserved, which we got basis on the reaction that we showed. Right, immediately
Right.
after you have a red card, you're supposed to uh, attempt and calm the situation down, and there needs to be someone in the team who just stands up and make sure that there is no further stupidity, because the easiest thing to happen after a red card is for you to either lose your head in a scenario, if you're the team that's affected, or the team that's already that's a man up, suddenly have this boost in the shot in their arm, right? That
Right.
let's go get them, they're one man down right now. So,
Mhm.
and at that time, I have no idea what Eric Bai was thinking. So, and that the third goal which we conceded was, if we had avoided that. Now, if you want me to go to ifs, I think if we avoid that third goal, an overall result could have been different. But there was absolutely no leadership in on the team, on the pitch, by
Mm.
anyone, everyone and anyone. There was no one there who just stood up and just calmed things down, uh, and then just got things going. I think the picture that annoyed me the most was when the referee was giving the red card to Martial, right? You
Right.
generally see your captain, or at captain, go up to the referee and try and confront him,
Sure.
even though it's not like, if Maguire went and confronted him, the decision would change, right? It's not. So, but at least he goes there, he shows leadership, and then you see them speaking. There's an image out there of Maguire just standing at the far post, watching things happen, right? And that pretty much was the theme of the game. We were watching things happen, and Spurs were doing everything. They were tearing us apart, left, right, center. Aurier was scoring a goal, and Ben Davis came on the pitch and got an assist. So I think it was like, it was a merry-go-round. We were offering cakes to all Spurs attackers, and they were happily eating that cake off.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
so yeah.
Yeah, and talking about United's defense, you very well mentioned the lack of leadership at the club, and it's probably not just down to Harry Maguire, but United do need a new centre back. That's common knowledge. I think no one denies that. However, the earlier conversation was, or rather, the understanding was that the new centre back will probably slot alongside Harry Maguire in the heart of United's defense. But judging by his recent performances, at the end of the last season, post lockdown, and at the start of this season, how reliable do you think Maguire is at the back now? So now questions are being raised there. And now that he's been at the club for a little more than a season since his mega money move from Leicester, what are your thoughts on his Man United career so far? Has he been a success, or is the jury still out?
So at United, unless you win trophies, I think the jury is always out on you. If you're good enough for the club, right? I don't think you can claim to be a bona fide success uh, unless you win trophies for the club, right? So in that regard, I think the jury will always be out on him, right? I think the recent performances of Harry Maguire, I wouldn't say the whole of last season. I think overall last season he was good for us. We had, I think, the third best defense last season, and I think what that points to more is an issue in our coaching, right? Uh, Aaron Van Bissaka, Harry Maguire, both when they joined, they were really good. Their best performances were when they joined, right? And as
True.
the season has progressed and we've hit the second season, you see that they're not performing as well, right? I spoke about, especially I think I spoke about on this after the first match, that the defenders that we have and plan that we the small plan or whatever you want to call it, that we see of Ole, how he wants to play, uh, are still at crosshairs for me, right? Uh, we want to play a high line, but then we have Harry Maguire in defense. We tried to sort that out with Eric Bailly, but then his concentration, as we spoke about, right, was cost us as well the last game, right?
True.
So. Uh, so yeah, so I don't understand where that's going, but I think a lot of questions need to be asked of the coaching, right? Because Harry Maguire was a good player even when he joined. He did at least at the start of a leadership, and I'm not sure how much of that is still there or what's gone wrong. Is the Greece incident still affecting him mentally? Uh, so yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to say outright that he's been a failure. I think there have been many people who've rushed to judge him right now.
Of course.
But that's again, that's something that United defenders and goalkeepers have to always bear with. You're at a big club, right? At a small
Right.
club, you can get away with two bad performances. But bigger clubs, you can't really do that. Uh, so yeah, so I think I'll still give him more time, as we said, right? The jury's still out. It'll always be out. If we don't win trophies, he's never going to be considered a success because he cost us 80 million. So I don't think
Absolutely.
so. Yeah, so I don't think that can be till his career doesn't end at United. I don't think so that can be decided. But yeah, he needs to. Of course, he needs to pull up his socks, as we say, right?
Right, right. That's very interesting. Karthik, what are your thoughts on the game, particularly Spurs' performance? I'm sure you'd be delighted, but again, so same question for you as well. Do you think the result would have been any different? I know Spurs were leading before the red card, but you do think result would have been any different if that red card was not shown or was shown to both?
Hey Manan. So yeah, I actually felt that we were going to lose. Within the first 30 seconds, what Davinson Sanchez has done was, I mean, plain stupidity. But I think
Hmm.
that particular incident was outshone by the comical defending of United.
True.
Um, but I feel, yeah, Spurs would have won irrespective of the red card. Maybe the scoreline would have been a little more respectful to United, but I didn't see any chance of Spurs losing the game because number one, I think they were hungry. Right after the penalty, you see everyone who was they were hunting down players literally, right?
Right.
I think that is something that has led to the third goal, and this what I felt was something was off with United, not just on the pitch but off the pitch. All right, you could see that from Ole's reactions and how people were behaving on the pitch. So they were not in the right frame of mind. So maybe something disturbing is happening behind the scenes. But I think I feel Mourinho sensed that that is the reason why Lamela was starting. He had a
Hmm.
uh, I think he had a planned role for Lamela and he executed it to perfection, and then he was substituted because he knew even a minute more on the pitch and he can get a red card. So I think Mourinho's tactics were spot on. His team selection was spot on. In the last episode, we actually discussed and we agreed that whoever is going to boss the midfield, win the battle in the midfield, is going to take the game. And I think that is what exactly has happened. The trio of Sissoko, Hoiberg, and Ndombele, I think they were the steal, right? I think they were
True.
incredible in the first 70 minutes, if I have to put it. So uh, this is where United lost big time. I think we expected them to start with Matic, Bruno, and Pogba, but they were just not in the game. I think uh, they Spurs did not leave the pedal of the metal.
True.
Metal of the pedal, and I believe that once the red card was there, United gave up way too easily. I know there were some reinforcements in the second half, when Fred and McTominay were introduced, but that is more of damage limitation. So you could say that they gave up. Considering they were four goals down, they gave up in the second half, and that really didn't have any effect on the course of the game. But yes, I think Spurs bossed the midfield. They were pretty clinical in finishing. Kane and Son again combining to deliver the goods for Spurs, and that is another interesting point because if you look at the average position of Kane
Mhm.
ever since the league restarted after the lockdown, you can see that he's a little behind Son. Son is playing a little ahead in terms of average position, when compared to Kane.
Right.
So I think that worked wonderfully for Mourinho and Son because Harry Kane's passing ability, we all know how good it is. So that is something that is benefiting Son and Spurs as well.
Right.
But yeah, I think I have a very strong feeling that something's off with Ole. Okay, I know he's under fire, but I know people, especially the United fans, are mourning about the lack of signings. But this starting 11 that he and let's all get the facts straight. A lot of money was spent to assemble the squad. It's not that money was not invested. I believe this starting 11 is good for a top four. Okay, look at the quality in the team; it is good enough for a top four. But I think something's off, and maybe you can blame it. I think Sushant brought up a point which was extremely fair that Maguire is nowhere near the discussion when the
True.
ref was
True.
dealing with the. But this maybe for me it paints a somewhat a deeper message that things behind the things off the pitch are not right Manchester United.
Indeed, indeed. But talking about things behind the scenes for Spurs, Spurs have done extremely well to come out of what looked like a very tough week unscathed, and obviously a result like this is surely going to be a boost in the morale and confidence of the players. Uh, how do you think this game and this week as a whole will impact Spurs this season? Is there an unlikely title charge we can expect from Spurs after this, or is it too early or probably too ridiculous to talk about it at this stage in time?
I think this, not just the match against United, but the win over Chelsea as well as the Europa League victory. I think definitely it's going to boost confidence for both players and the manager. I think Mourinho will have much more confidence in his squad right now, and he's always been stressing on how the mentality has to shift. I think uh, the players that Spurs have signed is a testament to what he wants from the players, right? So
Hmm.
he's looking for that winning mentality, so that the club moves forward in a positive direction. So I think the win against United is a testament for that. I think players will trust Mourinho now. Obviously, see, every player would want to play for Mourinho, but at the back of their minds, they will still have that doubt, because all of us are talking about is Mourinho finished? Does he still have it? Can he lead Tottenham to another trophy? So all these things will be at the back of the mind. I think results like these will only strengthen the relationship in the dressing room. You saw someone like Tanguy and Ndombele, who was subdued the entire season last year, but he's active in the dressing room. You can see that change. So I think definitely there's something brewing at Tottenham Hotspur. I can feel that, and it has a lot to do with the mentality of the players.
Right.
Uh, but again, I think in terms of this international break and how we go, how the club moves forward, this is a very crucial period. Son is recovering; he did not travel. I mean, he's training, and Vinicius is also training. Bale is working on his fitness, so these guys are still at the club. But a lot of majority of the core players have traveled, to travel with the national teams, and these guys are regular starters. Now, given the tight schedule that we've had, I'm genuinely concerned as to what the outcome of this whole international break will be. Anyone, getting a flu or even getting injured, I think that will leave Spurs in a vulnerable position, and this will decide not just this one, but every international break that we have is going to decide the outcome of the season. But again, I think it's too early to predict, whether we'll challenge for the title or not. But I really don't see Spurs as title challenges at this moment. I think there are still a few areas, especially in the central defense, that we are not strong. So I really don't expect Spurs to challenge for the title, but you never know. I mean, with the kind of season we have. But what I can definitely feel or vouch for is, if at all they really mount for the title, I don't see them falling off midway like they did in the past seasons. I think if at all they have a chance, I'm sure they're gonna fight tooth and nail, and at least make sure they take it to the last month, and not collapse Jan or a Feb.
It's
Yeah,
the Mourinho effect, isn't it?
yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think realistically, it's going to be top four in the trophy. I think that is fair. Given, I think you have to give enough credit to Daniel Levy, because March we were not sure. We were not sure the direction that Tottenham Hotspur as a club will take, because people were, given the results in the last season, no one even had them in contention for a top six. So I think that is something that he has changed, and you have to give awful lot of credit to Daniel Levy for that. But yeah, I think realistically, top four and a trophy.
Indeed, indeed. Coming back to Sushant, same similar question on the similar lines. So as confidence boosting a victory as it is for Spurs, it could be an equally confidence sapping victory for Manchester United. So how does Ole pick his players from this position? The confidence will be pretty low. Uh, you know the, the players will have doubts creeping in their minds. So how does Solskjaer pick the morale of the team, of the dressing room from this point onwards?
So that's an interesting question. I think it was Obro who you had asked, right?
Indeed, yes.
If the defeat came at the wrong time or at the right time.
True.
So I feel, considering the my view on the mental state of the squad, I was pretty happy that this happened before the international break, so they can just, like, I expect, if we had another game in 3 days, I would have expected another defeat, considering how I, from outside, we perceive the mentality of the squad to be, right. Uh,
Hmm.
so I think this 2 week break might do us good, where you just, go to your international teams, you play there, you kind of reset, right, yourself. And the talk, thankfully, because of the transfer window closing and Liverpool, never walking alone, uh,
Hmm.
ensured that the talk of next morning was not only about, how United lost, right. uh,
Hmm.
there was talk on Liverpool, there was talk on the who's coming in, who's going out for United. So a lot of the I would say the press attention they would have got, the negative attention, probably did not uh, come right up to us, right. And now that they've gone away to their teams, it'll help them just, in a way relax, I would say, and get over
Right.
the defeat. And then, of course, on the training ground, Ole will have to fix this. He did
True.
mention after the match that they might have to change a few things, maybe tactically, or personnel wise. And I'm hoping that once we do come back, we do see either more fitter players, hopefully, because there, I think now, after the international break, none of the teams can have an excuse with regards to preseason, lack of
Indeed.
preseason, right. I think you've had enough games now, and with the international games as well, you'll have played enough to be up to speed with regards to your fitness, which I think is one of the reasons why we're seeing so many crazy results, apart
Indeed.
from
Indeed.
the fact that there is no crowd, right. So I think these two have been really important factors in the crazy season we've had so far.
Indeed. Indeed.
So yeah, so I think I personally, I hope Van de Beek starts the next match.
Right. So that was my going to be my next question. In fact, Shine's next question. That what could be the reason Van de Beek is not starting and Pogba is starting, given he's been sort of out of form lately. Pogba. Obviously, like you had mentioned in one of the previous episodes, that he is recovering from COVID, and there has been certain injury setbacks as well. So, what could be the reason that Ole is maybe taking it a bit too slow with Van de Beek, or what do you feel about his inclusion in the team?
So I think Ole has, even if we see how Van de Beek has been used since the season started, right? Uh, Ole hasn't used him in a holding pivot, right? In a pivot, basically, of two. He's always used him either ahead of the number 10, be it in like a almost like a striker role. I think that was there, uh,
Mhm.
and or just behind the striker, right? So I think he doesn't see him as a Pogba rotational first player, you would say.
Mhm.
I think he sees Fred and Scott as those players who can play in the pivot. Personally, I hate the formation.
Right.
Uh, I think we should just. I think none of our midfielders are perfectly suited for a 4-2-3-1. I think Bruno for Portugal plays in a 4-3-3. Pogba has played in a 4-3-3, and it's, I think, documented enough of how much he loves playing that formation.
Mm.
Uh, so yeah, so I personally, and I think if we did play a 4-3-3, then Van de Beek could be used in as a replacement for either Pogba or Bruno, right? So I don't think
Right.
so. Even Bruno has really been setting the stage on fire, on the ball at least, from the spot kick, yes. But I think on the ball, he's also been very disappointing.
Right.
So yeah, so I think they needs to. I think when Ole did mention about changing something, I hope that formation changes. Uh, and now that we've signed a fullback who's good in the final third, at least, right? In his set pieces
True.
and his delivery, crossing deliveries. So I think now even if we go ahead and play a diamond, right,
Mm-hmm.
and have Cavani, one of Cavani, Rashford, or Martial in the front two, and a midfield four of Matic, Van de Beek, Pogba, Bruno. Uh, we can even try that, right? The problem with playing a diamond is you need really strong fullbacks going up and down, and Luke Shaw would probably lose breath halfway during a match. He did that,
Indeed.
so yeah, so I think we can try that as well. But yeah, Ole needs to do something different. But as in, there needs to be like a jolt in the system, and I think a formation change could do that.
Indeed. And I think Karthik also had a question regarding Van de Beek. Go ahead, Karthik.
Yeah, Sushant. So, what are your thoughts on the recent comments from Van de Beek's agent? I think they're growing impatient of his, of the fact that he's not starting games. So, yeah, I certainly think it's too early because it's a new league. He's got to adapt. But do you think the comments from from his side of, will that affect the decision making for Ole going forward?
So I think first of all, I'd just clear the air in that on that regards is that that specific person who spoke about Van de Beek not starting games and everything, he was someone uh, who works at the agency. He's not directly working with Van de Beek, right? Van de Beek has a separate agent. The one who spoke was
Mhm.
completely different. So uh, I don't really want to dwell on what he said and how much value it has because it personally doesn't. He's in apparently in Netherlands. He's known to talk. He's known to be grumpy as a human being. So I don't think that would worry Ole as such. I think Ole personally has never been one to worry about what an agent speaks. Right? He just goes ahead and does what he wants to do. Brightly or wrongly, at least. But yeah, but I don't think so he's influenced by an agent. He was pretty much uh, you would say he stood his ground even when there was the whole thing with Raiola that was pretty ugly in a media battle, right? And and Raiola is a ugly human being as well. So I don't think that would worry. Neither would it worry Ole, neither would it worry the club personally. And I think Van de Beek doesn't seem to be someone who would like to ruffle feathers and everything. So with him as well, I don't think so. He was a footballer who's going to be causing us a lot of trouble. So yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting, Sushant. And I think one final question we have from Abro is, there have been obviously after every bad game that big clubs play, like big clubs like United have, there's bound to be rumors about the managerial position, right? So lately we are seeing that maybe Mauricio Pochettino may be back into the frame for United with him replacing Solskjaer. Do you see this happening anytime soon? And if so, would really is Solskjaer really the one to be blamed here, or do you think the blame needs to be put on maybe another party, probably Ed Woodward or someone else?
Uh, okay, blame always will go to the board, right? I don't think any United fan can honestly say that this is only Ole's fault, right? Whenever any manager has been sacked at United, at the end of the day, the decision making lies with the board. They are the ones who hired them, so their failure also should be marked down as a failure of the board. Uh, be it even though the previous sackings, in a way, you would say have all deserved it. But again, if I'm signing a failure, that doesn't mean that I get away with it just because I sacked him at the right time, right?
Right.
So I think that is so the I will not I so what I say ahead doesn't absolve United board owners of anything. uh, they were wrong to give him a long term contract in the first place. Ole should never have gotten a contract. If I were to do a survey today of all English Premier League clubs, I think I wouldn't fans, right? I would interview if I would do survey with fans. I don't think any fan would go ahead and say that we want Ole as our manager compared to what they have right now. So I think that is a damning indictment of where Ole is as a manager. Uh, the Pochettino rumor that you do talk about, I think it was in the Express. Again, I don't like to give these rumors any um weightage as of now. But yes, as the season goes on, uh, if Ole does continue performing like this, uh,
Mhm.
yeah, the Pochettino cloud is going to hang over him throughout the season. Uh, in the transfer market, the club has really let him down. Uh,
Mm.
and when let him down, I don't mean that we didn't sign Sancho. I am personally, I think even City have missed out on players previously because of whatever reason you want to term it, right? I think the fact how we've let him down is that we've had this imaginary thought in our heads. We're living in a different dimension, basically, I think, where we think Borussia is just making a fool of us, and they'll come in at the end of the window and go, "Okay, here you go, have Sancho. Please take him from us." I I don't understand this behavior. They were pretty clear. I think everyone understood that while okay, you might go ahead and bid on the end of the month of August, right? And I think they would still take him. So I don't believe the date deadline that they set, but they were pretty clear from the start. We need 120 million euros. You pay us that money, you take him. There is no sort of
Exactly.
uh, right. So now, if you had a release clause, right, I would have understood United's optimism of trying to, nurture it down and then at the end of the window just go and pay that, right? Like Arsenal did with Partey.
Right. Hmm.
But there is no release clause here. What are you waiting for? If you know it's not happening, move on. Try and sign Dembele 2 weeks ago and try and convince him then, or you let Bale go. I think if at the end of the season if you're trying for Dembele, you might as well have gone for someone with pedigree like Bale because he's in a similar condition. The club doesn't want him. He's been injury prone in the past. He's quality. We know that, and he's a winner. He's won stuff.
Right.
Dembele
Absolutely.
doesn't have the last 2 points going for him, right? Even though Dembele again is a really highly talented player, and he would have still added to United, be it in the hospital with Jones or on the pitch with the others, right? So,
Mm.
so yeah, so I think Ole has been let down by the management, but there are enough players there for him to show improvement over last season. And if he doesn't do well, the Pochettino, it's like Trump with that nuclear red button on there, right? Ed Woodward is going to be itching to press that button if we continue losing, and we have a really bad, I would say, run of games where I think we play PSG, then we play Chelsea, then we play Red Bull Leipzig, and then we play Arsenal. So I think those four games, if Ole comes out of all those four games without a defeat, he'll survive at least till the January window.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, otherwise, I honestly don't foresee a really good future for him. So yeah,
Indeed.
he
Indeed.
will need to win. He will need to win. If we have a bad run of form like we had last season, I don't think so. He survives. He doesn't survive this time.
Indeed. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Sushant, for that. Karthik, final question. I know we've been talking about this game a lot. Just a final question. Realistically, you mentioned that Spurs top four and a trophy would probably be the target for the season. Which trophy would you be targeting? Do you think you can win Europa League this season, or is Carabao Cup the way to go?
No, I think Europa is a realistic trophy, given the teams that are currently in.
Hmm.
So yeah, um, I think we've got to watch out the group stage as well. Let's just hope that none of the big teams get pushed down to the Europa. And so, but I think yeah, he's going to take all the trophies seriously, including the FA Cup. And I guess he can. He's got the teams now. I think Spurs right now have two good enough teams to at least reach to the knockout stages of the Europa League. But I would prefer Europa League because that also in case our form or the run in during the end of the season isn't great, and we maybe if we just in case miss out on the Champions League, I think winning the Europa League would probably give us a entry into the Champions League because I think given the whole financial crisis that the club is in. Okay, in terms of repaying the loan for the stadium and all, I think we need Champions League. More than a trophy, I think Champions League is very very important for the for the club to continue its run and make sure that they do not get into losses.
Right. Thank you so much, Karthik, Sushant. This has been great. It has been an incredible game and even more incredible result. I'm sure happier days are ahead for United and probably a few bumps down the road for Spurs. But we'll continue to rant and discuss on this podcast.